So I'm really excited to talk with you. You're in California, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you in where in California are you?
I'm in Los Angeles, Santa Monica.
Los
I'm on
Angeles.
the
Okay.
coast.
All right, and I'm on the other side of the U.S. in Florida.
Yep.
Um, and I'm really excited to talk to you today because you've got your hands in some really interesting things, but you're also practicing. You've been practicing law in California for like what, 25 years, I think I read.
25 to we're almost 27 now.
Oh, 27.
We're coming
So
up on
all in
20,
California?
26. Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
Okay, so because I know that California and Florida have really different laws when it comes to parenting, when it comes to equitable distribution, and so really interested about your work that you're doing in.
Hi, my name is Sydney Mitchell.
Hi, I'm Matthew Brickman, Florida Supreme Court mediator. Welcome to the Mediate This podcast, where we discuss everything mediation and conflict resolution.
Sure.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about you, what you're involved with all the dad programs, the boot camp, the badass boot camp you have, and yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
So let me give you the short version. I graduated law school. My partner and I go to open up our firm. I'm like, what do you want to practice? He says, I want to do family law. My immediate reaction was like, ew, gross. Anger and emotion and heat. It's an easier message to get across. Someone's got
Yeah,
a real pain point in their divorce or the custody battle versus, we really need to structure your business differently so we minimize the taxes. And then when you die, like the assets transfer, nobody cares about that. Like
yeah,
that's way down the road.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the things I've learned is, and I'm sure after 27 years, I've been doing this for 18 years. And it is the most difficult part of law because it involves humanity, human nature, emotions. It can be the most fulfilling, though, part of, I think, the law. But at the same time, it is never ending because we will never stop having relationships, stop having sex, procreating, breaking up, having issues. And so it's just a revolving door of, all right, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. And you can even have repeat business. You could do, I
Oh,
mean, I've done that where I've done somebody's divorce and then they're like, Matthew, I need you again. I got my girlfriend knocked up and now I need a
right.
paternity action. You're like, you didn't learn the first time.
We did one couple's divorce 3 times. They
One
married and
couple.
divorced, married and divorced, married and divorced. And then I
So
did
I,
his estate planning, and he came to me and I said, okay, fine. Who are we leaving everything to? Guess who he leaves everything to?
her,
I'm like, why did you divorce her? He's like, we just can't live together. I'm like, all right,
yeah.
whatever.
I
But
had
you're
that. I had
right.
that once.
When new lawyers start practicing family law, they think, oh, it's easy. It's just divorces. Oh, it's just custody. No, family law
No.
is, I think, the most complex area of law because we cross constitutional issues, bankruptcy issues, criminal issues, real property issues, business issues, tax issues. Then we get into
All of it.
psychology and family custody. Then we get into division of assets, tracing, financials. 100%.
Yeah.
We are without a doubt probably some of the most talented lawyers in reality, even though we get the worst reputation because our clients, when they're coming to us, have such a wide diversity of
Yeah.
problems. And so when
Yeah.
we're dealing with them, oftentimes they're not going to be happy with the result. We're the jerks. We're the ones that paid get paid too much money. We don't know what we're doing. I overpaid. Like, dude, it's not my fault. Like, you've got big issues.
Yeah, yeah. So how did you tell me about then how you really started focusing, or at what point did you go, wait a second, I need to really help dads and the fathers in this whole thing. Like at what point was it recent? Was it early
Well, so it's
on? Like
about
how did that
5 years
happen?
in, we're practicing law. We're taking everything, men, women, domestic violence, custody, everything
Yeah.
but adoption. And
Oh, everything but adoption.
everything but
Okay.
adoption, which is probably the happiest part of family law is adoption,
Right?
right?
Everybody loves it when somebody gets adopted. Nobody's a
Exactly.
bad guy.
So I'm working, we're doing this stuff. We're about 5 years in, and I am up to here with stress and anxiety, and it's driving me crazy. And I had this one client, Betsy, comes in, and she's just made a mess of her life, and you have to fix it. And I'm like, you need to leave. Like, I'm done. I cannot fix your life.
Right.
And I was so ready to just like chuck it all. But my partner had a wife and a kid and a mortgage and 2 dogs and probably a couple lizards and, life. I had my own stuff going on with my mortgage and my
Sure.
kids. And I mean, my dog and was my kid. And life you don't get to just be like, I'm chucking it all. Like that takes a lot
Sure.
of planning. So I had to reconfigure what we were doing. And I made a list of clients I liked and clients that were annoying me.
Okay.
And it was literally like boys on the right, girls on the left.
Girls on the left.
Like,
Wow.
that's really interesting. What's going on there? Now, I'm a gay man. I'm like, okay, maybe there's some bias going on, but really the bias should probably be more with the women. Gay
Sure.
equals women, right? So,
Sure.
but I'm looking at that going, this does not make sense to me.
But it's not.
And I started looking at it like, okay, when she comes in, I want his head on a pike. I want all the money. I want the kids. I want all the property. Turn him
Right.
into the IRS for tax fraud. Destroy him. Put him in jail. And he has to support me. And he has to support the kids. And I want lifetime support. And you need to be my therapist, best friend, stylist, partner. I'm like, oh, and I don't have any money. You got to go get it from him.
Oh, yeah. I don't have any money. Yeah, I've heard that.
So
Yeah.
he comes in. Dude, it's over. We haven't had relations in like 7 years. I want out. What's it going to cost me? How long is it going to? Here's your retainer. Call me when you need me. Completely different experiences.
Sure.
And then
Sure.
we just reconfigured and focused more on men's family law, which was our main website, still is today. And we primarily dealt with men, divorces, child custody, alimony, termination. About 5 years ago, I'm building up this new business, and COVID comes along.
Right.
Throws everybody's world into just chaos, right?
Sure.
I'm
Sure.
like, okay, I got to like reconfigure stuff. What am I going to do? But I've got this new online business model that I'm trying to do, and it's not going to work well what I had planned, but I've got all this new knowledge, and I'm looking around going, okay, how do I, A, support myself, B, help others, and C, use all this knowledge?
Right.
That's when I created Union of Dads. And it was
Okay.
dads who, for all this time, I keep seeing dads are getting destroyed. They go into family court. They're like, I'm a great dad. And they lose. Why? They don't have a lawyer to advocate for them. They don't know what to say to the judge. They don't know how to argue to the judge. They don't know how to draft their paperwork. They don't know how to put together all the things they know in a way
Sure.
the judge can hear them.
Sure.
So I started Union of Dads, and I came out with Dads Law School, my online
Okay.
program that teaches dads how to represent yourself in family court, how to take the things you know about your kids and put them in a declaration so a judge can look at it and be like, he's a great dad. Because when dad walks into court and says, I'm a great dad, he ain't saying anything.
Sure.
There's not a
Yeah.
man who's ever walked into court and said, I'm a piss poor dad.
Right.
Everybody says I'm a great dad. So
Right.
you're not saying anything. You're saying water is wet. You need
Right.
to be telling the judge, I'm a great dad, and here's 43 reasons why. This is what I know about my kids. This is how I discipline my kids. This is how I interact with my kids. Because mom's coming in and saying, he's negligent. He doesn't know anything about the kids. He's always working. He doesn't know anything about their school, their doctors, their dentists, their medical conditions, their allergies. He doesn't even know their shoe size. They always say he doesn't know the shoe size.
Wow.
I don't know why. So what I did
Well,
was I created this
well,
program that teaches dads how to take all the stuff that they know about their kids and put it into a declaration so that a judge can actually look at it and be like, oh, you know what? This guy actually is a good guy. Mom's saying all that, but here's the proof. Here's the evidence that shows dad's actually an engaged father who knows what's going on with his kids. So that's what Dad Law School has grown out of, from those early days of it's my life, has kind of evolved into helping dads be an active and engaged part of their kid's life.
So is this so the Dad's Law School, is that like let's say, for example, I was interested in that. How does it work? Like, am I meeting with you? Is it a group of dads that are all sharing stories and going, well, this is how we've done it. These are the things you need. Like, are there,
So there's
other coaches, or how does that work?
Because dads are so busy, there's a multi-pronged approach to this. Dad's
Okay.
Law School starts with, we've got video course that teaches you child custody action plan, immediate. Like, this is what you need to do when you're going in front of the judge. Here's what you're doing. Here's the information pulled together. Here's how you do public speaking. That's our first video course.
Okay.
In that, we also have evidence. We explain how to use evidence in court, and discovery, how to gather the evidence so that you can use it in court. It's all part of Dad's Law School, which is the video courses. We also have weekly meetups. Every Thursday, we get together, a bunch of guys, and we're talking about, they've got questions about how do I introduce this evidence? How do I overcome this objection? How do I write this declaration? Am I saying the right thing? Is my language too volatile? How do I make it not be volatile? How do I use tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity and Claude to improve my performance in writing? How do I use ChatGPT and Claude to take the emotion out of my emails? How do I use all of this AI to improve my chances going into family court? So that's our weekly meetings, and we talk about that. So it's kind of group coaching. They're quizzing me on questions. I'm teaching them what they need to know, but it's also dads coming together to share their wins.
Now, is that you? It's like, that's just with you, or do you have other people under you, or like?
No, it's all me right now.
That is you.
That's all me.
That's you right now. And is that online or in person?
And we have the weekly meetups so that dads can get the contact that they need with me and with each other, because they need the support. A lot of these dads have been isolated because their new girlfriend or wife didn't like their friends, didn't like their family, control the social life, and now dads are like left out in the cold, and they're going like, I don't have any friends anymore. Like, yeah, you don't have any friends anymore because she isolated you. That's the deal, by the way, with a whole other topic. So that's our weekly meetups. Then we have a WhatsApp group where dads day to day can text each other, and they text questions and they text funny things. You know, there's a lot of bad dad jokes. There's funny videos. There's, I'm going through it. She just pulled this crap. What do I do? How do I handle it? There's, my kid's having a tantrum. What do you suggest? There's, what's the best like baby carrier? Like, all kinds of information for dad on the text group. Okay. And then they also, like, if they individually have questions, they email me and we communicate through email. So that's Dad's Law School. It's weekly meetups. It's WhatsApp group. It's email support, so that they can actually get what they need to be more effective going into family court.
And how many people do you have for that?
At the moment, we've got about 67 guys in the group. I got about 4,000 on my email list.
That's
so we're growing.
And the video part in the beginning, that's just video on demand. You've recorded those. They can get on. They could just watch those and do whatever.
You watch the video, you get there's a PDF that comes with it. So like, here's a sample declaration. Here's a sample exhibit list. We've got all of that. And all of that stuff is in my new book, Dad's Child Custody Action Plan. Which is available on Amazon, and it's available on the website. If you go to dadslawschool.com, it get a big pop up. And if you buy it on the website, you get a signed copy from me.
Nice. All right, so Badass Bootcamp. What is that? Dad's Badass Bootcamp.
So it's a one-day boot camp, and we're looking to do maybe Florida, maybe Texas in October. We haven't quite decided yet. Maybe both. It's possible I could do both. Do a lot of work. But Dad's Badass Bootcamp is one day where we come in and we run through some exercises to gather the information that you need to show the judge. And we work on, here's what goes into your declaration. Here's why you're a good dad. And it's designed to rebuild a man's self-esteem, because oftentimes they're lonely, isolated, have been beaten down for 3 to 6 years of you're worthless, you're not good, you're negligent, you don't know, I can't handle you, you're not good enough, you don't make enough money. And so what we're trying to do is undo all of that negative programming with some exercises to be like, hey, here's 43 ways in which you're an awesome dad. Like, let's start here. Like, you need to start changing your perspective on yourself, because that's what you're going to project to the judge.
Sure.
If you don't think you're a good dad, it's going to come through. So you have to start by reestablishing your own sense of self-esteem, your own ego, not in a crazy ego, champion of the world kind of guy, but just like, I'm really a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not what she is portraying me to be.
Correct.
Right. Right.
So what boot camp is, it's a one-day event where we bring, a bunch of guys together and we run them through some exercises to work on self-esteem. And then I go over evidence, discovery, why your first impression with the judge is not when you think it is. Most people think their first impression is when they walk in, and it's not.
Yeah. So when they
Your
submit something
is in your
to the
paperwork.
court. Yeah. It's when you submit it.
It's in that paperwork. And if you don't do a good job in that declaration, the judge already knows coming out, oh, this one's not got his act together. He's not going to get anything out of me.
Right. So in California, dude, I mean, it sounds like there's a high percentage of pro se litigants. Is that, I mean,
that's across
these
the country.
dads,
It's about 70, 80% of family cases eventually, if they're kind of high conflict cases, they're eventually going to run out of money for the most part.
Sure.
And eventually, if you've got a high conflict personality on the other side, you're going to keep going back. So you have to learn how to fight for yourself. You have to learn how to represent yourself.
So
think about it like this. So if you take all the families because one of the things that's going on today is people aren't getting married. So they're not getting married, they're not getting divorced.
Right.
They're not getting married, they're not getting divorced, they're still having kids.
Yeah, paternity actions.
What happens when you have a kid with a woman? Well, she's got all the rights and you've got nothing. But Dave, I signed the birth certificate. No,
not enough.
You signed there. It's called the birth certificate. What it really is a child support acknowledgement.
Exactly.
That's what you're really signing.
Yeah.
It's the I will pay for this child agreement.
Yeah.
If you don't have any rights. So dads have to go into court and say, yes, I'm the father. I want custody. I want rights. I want to have time with my kid. I want vacations. I want holidays. I want Monday to Friday so I can help them with homework. And so as a consequence of that, more and more dads are finding out like, oh, I actually do have to go to court.
Right. Right. So have you read any latest statistics on, because I mean, I know that a lot of people are not getting married. This whole new generation's not dealing with that. They are still having kids, so we've got paternity. Have you heard the latest statistics on paternity matters? Like what percentage of kids are being born paternity versus marriage?
It's about 70% last time I checked.
Is it that high? Okay, so last I checked. All right, so last, and this was a couple of years ago. It's just a couple of years ago. They said 40% of the children being born are out of wedlock. Then you still have half of the marriages on average, sometimes higher, in divorce. So a total of about 70 to 72% of the children are on a parenting plan of some sort. But you're saying, like, you've heard that paternity is up to 70% of the kids are being born.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, wow.
Because the reality is people don't get married until later.
Yeah.
But
later.
When are they having kids? When they're 20s.
Yeah.
You may be getting married in your 30s and 40s. But if you look around, like in my world, I get an awful lot of dads, 24 to 40, who've got that first baby mama. Maybe they've got a wife. Maybe they're going through a divorce. But they've got that first kid out there, because if you think about it, like when we're young, we make impulsive decisions. It happens, and it's happening more and more because fewer and fewer people want to get married.
Yeah. I mean, I I had my daughter who's almost 30 this year. She'll be 30 at the end of the year. I had her when I was 21. And then I had my son at 23.
Right.
So, now what's interesting is my daughter didn't get married to almost 25, and my 27-year-old son still isn't married.
Sure.
In fact, he's still living with his mom. So, yeah, I mean, they're getting married and doing things later and later. And luckily, my 27-year-old does not have a baby mama or a kid. I mean, I did tell him. I told him the same thing that you just said, which is just because, and I say this to people all the time, just because you have a child with somebody, if you're not married, you have no rights or obligations. You just have a responsibility. It's financial. That's it.
Well, you
You
have
don't get a
obligations,
say.
all right.
You don't get a say. You don't get time sharing. You don't get decision making. You just have an obligation to support. And yeah, same thing. I'm on the birth certificate. Yeah, so you've acknowledged I'm supposed to pay support. I'm not, but I'm supposed to. And yeah, same thing. So in California, because Florida just changed their laws 2 years ago. So we're almost July 2025, July 2023. Florida turned family law inside out, upside down, and fixed, I would say, almost most of the brokenness. So what they did in Florida was there's a rebuttable presumption of 50-50 time sharing mom and dad. Period. End of story. If you don't think 50-50 is appropriate, there are 20 best interest factors in the statute that you have to overcome. Judge has to make a specific written finding of all 20, or else it's 50-50. Equitable distribution. Everything from date of marriage to date of filing, split at 50-50. Of course, unless there's like marital dissipation and waste, or maybe non-commingled premarital asset, right? Alimony, we have a calculator now. So we have need versus ability to pay. You got to prove need and ability to pay. Then you've got about 13 factors. And if you can get through all of that, we now have a calculator. We put your income. It tells us the maximum duration, the maximum amount. Done. Child support, it's a statutory calculation. We look at the parenting plan. Then we look at maybe alimony, if any. It spits out a number. You're done. I mean, it's like there's like I now tell people for a court, it's really simple. 50-50, 50-50, calculator, get out. What makes it difficult is people. People make it difficult. But no. For the court, it's easy. And so we're not dealing with, at least in Florida now, like pre 2023, a lot of the argument was, I want 50-50. No, I'm not giving you 50-50. Well, I want 50-50. Well, we have to show, and then you have to go through this whole evidentiary hearing, whereas now it's like, okay, we're starting at 50-50, and you've got to prove why 50-50 is not in the best interest of the children. And there's 20 factors, or else it is 50-50. How is it now in California? Because especially with all the dad's and the dad's law school that you're doing, it sounds like it's not so easy.
Well, so here's the thing. Basically, our system is the same as yours.
Okay.
Like the calculators are pretty much the same. The presumption is pretty much there. We don't have the exact same language in California. It's, both parents should share equally and have frequent and continuing contact. So we
got the same language.
We don't have the clear-cut language you guys have. Maybe someday we'll actually get there. God only knows. What we also have, and I don't know how this plays into your system, is the domestic violence rules. And that's where screws everything up. Because the domestic violence takes precedence and throws all of that child custody stuff out the window. Because as soon as you're a woman and you have an abuser in your life, you're now the presumed better parent in California. And so the abuser shouldn't have custody of the kids unless they've done anger management classes, battersm intervention classes, co-parenting classes, parenting classes, which are not the same as co-parenting classes. You've got to have usually reunification therapy, supervised visitation at $150 an hour for 2 hours Saturday twice a month. It's designed so that the victim, the abuser, can have more custody because that translates into, say it with me, child support.
I was going to say more money. So yes.
Right?
So a lot of times the accusations. So a lot of times the accusations
have this
are
wild
money.
card out here of DV, domestic violence, that just skews things.
Okay. So In our 20 factors of best interest,
Uh-huh.
one of the factors, so we've got A through T, okay?
Right.
And M, evidence of domestic violence, sexual violence, child abuse, child abandonment, child neglect, regardless of whether prior or pending action relating to the issues being brought. So it's just one of the factors, but it does not supersede or negate the entire thing. It's just one of the factors.
So therefore, Florida is going to be ahead of us in terms of being a little bit more liberal when it
Yeah,
comes to custody.
right.
California, we have this domestic violence lobby is super powerful.
Yeah.
You know, the women's shelters are super powerful. There's a lot of money behind them with federal grants, state
Okay.
grants. They really run a lot of games in our society in
Okay.
California, and they don't see their own behavior, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as a consequence of that, the domestic violence laws have been written just, in my mind and in many lawyers' minds, they're just off the charts. They've lost the mission. It's insane.
Okay.
We have this thing, coercive control. I don't know what coercive control in a relationship is. It seems like it's one of those
I have no idea.
incredibly flexible, giant terms that you could like drive a 747 through.
Yeah. But so course of control, like in what context? Like
Whatever you want. Are you representing a woman?
okay.
It's whatever you want it to be. Are you representing
So
a man?
that's the problem. So that's the problem. It's just this broad stroke that you can apply anywhere and in anything.
Correct.
Course of control.
Correct. He
Wow.
isolated me from my family, wouldn't let me talk to my mother, therefore he's coercively controlling me and he's abusive. Okay, got it. His side of that's going to be, I couldn't have any kind of relations unless I did X, Y, and Z. Is that coercive control? No, because a person has a right to say no to sex whenever they want. Okay, so you're using sex as a tool on the one hand, but that's not coercive control. It's just this loosey-goosey insanity.
Wow. Wow.
Because we've lost our sense of humanity. And the reality is this, I think. You know, I say, if you took all of family court cases, about the first 75% of them are pretty normal. The system handles them fairly well. People go into court maybe one time, they get their orders, they never have to go back again.
Sure.
It's like the top 30% is where we're really dealing with high conflict and higher conflict.
Sure.
Find the people that are really crazy. That's where we find the true narcissists and a true borderline personality disorder person. And I describe borderlines as the honey badgers of humanity. I mean, if you know anything about the honey badger, it's the toughest animal on the planet. I mean, it's an amazing creature.
Yeah.
But borderlines create their own reality. And they create a sense of insanity on their partner because they're so effective at gaslighting and manipulation, which makes them very, very powerful when they go into family court. Because as we know, the biggest joke in family court is under penalty of perjury. Like, that doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah. They lie.
Actually enforces it.
Everybody lies.
Why do we say it? I don't know. It's a big joke.
Yeah.
But for the borderline, the honey badger of humanity, this is just free reign to go say and do whatever you want. Well, now we're dealing with the really crazy people in a system that's not going to hold them accountable. And so that's where dads have to come in and be like, how do I handle this? So we deal with a lot of that in dad's law school because a lot of our dads are dealing with the borderline personality of their ex. That's what we end up with. There's a lot of the crazy ones, the really, really insane ones who are former entertainers of a type, often.
Yeah.
And I say that with this compassion, recognizing that most borderlines have a history of being abused as children. They were most likely sexually molested as a kid, parent, neighbor, family member, someone down the block. So they're damaged individuals, and I recognize that they're very, very damaged individuals. but they're still doing more damage. And if dad doesn't step up and try and show up in court and get the 50% that in Florida he's awarded, and in California we have to fight tooth and nail for, and across
Sure.
the country dads have to fight,
Oh yeah, yeah.
the kids are going to get hurt as collateral damage just to mom's borderline personality craziness. And
Sure.
that's the problem.
Sure, sure. So going back to what you're saying about, a lot of times they'll use the domestic violence statute for money, and weaponize that. And a lot of times, as a mediator, I am, like sometimes, mom's like, I think this is money driven, money motivated. And I go and talk to dad, and dad's like, look, this has nothing to do with money. I want my kids. And so it's like, well, then look, then we're going to waive child support. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. I don't care. Well, you'll get to the heart of the matter of, okay, is it really money driven, or is it really I want to be involved in? So sometimes we're going through that. In California, when does child support terminate? And child support, what does it actually include? Like, you know,
So here's the deal. Most of my dads would
okay,
gladly pay more in child support if they could have more time with their kids.
okay,
They would rather see the money go if they could have time with their kids.
yeah, they'll buy it all
The
day.
answer to your question is this. In California, child support terminates at 18,
Okay,
or if a child's graduated high school,
okay,
at 19.
all right,
If they're
same for
still in
Florida.
school,
Okay,
it'll go an extra year.
graduation. Okay,
Or emancipation or marriage.
yeah. Marries, dies, emancipates, becomes self-supporting, all that fun stuff. Okay, all right,
Exactly.
and then like, do you guys include things like private school and
So this
cars
is
and
where it gets
iPads
messy.
and cell phones and all of those other things? Or is it just like, look, you get, it'll take care of child support, and then we have child care and medical insurance, and that's it? Or uncovered medical, maybe mutually agreed upon extracurricular. Other than that, that's between the parents. How's California deal with all
So it's
that?
very statutory.
Okay.
Medical care, we split uncovered medical care now
Yep.
proportionally. It used to be
Yep.
50-50.
Yep.
Now it's proportionally based on income
Yep.
because we've got new
Yep.
rules, because women don't make enough money. So men have to pay more because we've got that alleged wage gap between the two.
Sure.
So we've got those issues. We're trying to be an equity-based system.
Sure.
Private schools, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on what's the history of the family and what are the finances.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
got a case right now where mom and dad were living way beyond their means, like $500,000 in debt to the IRS, $750,000 in credit card debt and personal loans, and mom still wants the kids in private school at $60,000 per child.
Oof.
Yeah,
Oof.
and dad's like, listen, my business has cratered. I can't afford this. We've got 2 homes, 2 lawyers. Like, there's just not enough money. And mom's like, I don't care. You have to pay it. And the
Right.
court system is looking at it going, all right, we're not going to take the kids out of school this year because I don't want to take them out halfway through. So you're going to have to
Sure.
figure out a way to make that work.
Sure.
But dad wins. Yes, the kids are going to private school or public school next semester. Like, that's just got to happen.
Yeah.
Other
Well,
times they'll look at it and they'll be like, Dad, you've got the resources and this has been the pattern. And I'm going to say you have to keep paying because that's what you signed up for. And it's for the kids. Neither of you is really benefiting from that. And because you have the resources for it,
Yeah.
I don't feel it's too much of a burden, which is
Right.
what most judges would say.
yeah. You do have the ability, without imploding your own life, going into debt, borrowing,
Correct.
and the kids can maintain status quo.
Right. Now, the other stuff, the extracurriculars, the cell phones, the iPads, all of that stuff, it's very much like, what are you guys going to agree on?
Sure. Yeah. So what is mediation like in California? I mean, is it mandatory? Is it optional? Do they use it a lot? I mean,
So
how's
each county in California has their own views on it.
okay?
You have to go to mediation conciliation court. Some counties are like California, where it's not a recommending. It's just a, did you guys reach an agreement or not? If you didn't, great, the judge will make a ruling. Other counties like Ventura County, it's recommending. And what that means is you go in, you meet with the mediator, usually use the social worker. They're going to meet with mom, meet with dad, hear the stories. Mom's tell of woe, dad's like not saying enough, and they're going to make a recommendation. And then that 99% of the time is what the judge issues in a recommending county.
So the mediator makes a recommendation to the court.
Correct. Which is really, when they say recommendation, it's really like, okay, here's the decision.
Yeah. So, but what if the parties came to an agreement in the mediation? Is it
That's
still a
the part that
recommendation, or are
would
they
be-
able?
Yeah, that would just be rubber stamped.
Oh, okay.
If the parties are coming to an agreement, I mean, and that's the 70% of most family court, right? I mean,
Yeah,
most
yeah,
parties
yeah.
do come to an agreement. There's a little bit of log rolling that happens. There's a little bit
Sure.
of, this is the way it's always been. Dad gives in too easily because it's just easier. He's got a whole bunch of misconceptions about what's going on, but that's just is what it is. And so it's the 30% where where the mediators are really playing a bigger role.
Yeah. And you said most of the mediators are social workers.
Frequently, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So in Florida, and it's not county, if you want to get a date in front of the judge, even if it's for even like a temporary relief hearing, you have to go to mediation at least one time, at least once. And if you go and you settle it, great, not a problem. Judge will rubber stamp it all day long. Like they don't want it, they don't want to decide it. They will if they have to, but they don't want to,
Yeah.
right? If you go and you can't settle, then fine, we'll give you a date in front of the judge. But most judges, at least just the judicial rules, each judge has their own rules, and most of them will say, look, 10 days prior to seeing me, you got to go back to mediation at least another time and try it again, because we don't want to deal with it. And certain issues and certain judges, even after that, if the people are still high conflict and come in and can't figure it out and they'll listen to it, on some cases, because I've had people even after, I'm like, I've been their mediator, I was their pre-temporary relief, then I was their pre-trial. They finally went to court and the judge didn't rule, but ordered them back to mediation with explicit instructions. And they came back again. So for example, they're arguing over custody and time sharing and visitation and whatnot. And so, there's all the allegations, but they're allegations, they're unfounded, or it's like, hey, we want you to jump through these hoops. So the dad will jump through the hoops, and then they're still like, well, no. And it's like, okay, well, then they go to the trial and they're putting on their dog and pony show. And the judge is like, look, I'm not going to sit here and ask you, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Thanksgiving? No. So he says, go back to mediation, create a 50-50 time sharing. You're going to each alternate the holidays, pick up, drop off at a neutral place, shared parental, get out, and go to mediation and finalize it. So then they come back and I'm like, okay, well, did you have your trial? They say, yeah. Judge said, come back 50-50 time sharing. It's like, okay. And so, I mean, I come in at all different stages, and about 30% of my practice is pro se parties, where mom or dad will contact me and say, hey, look, my husband, my wife, we're getting divorced. We don't want to deal with this with attorneys. We need to get through this. It's like, what's the process? Can you help us? Can we get through it? What's the cost? What's the timeline? I'm like, it's a lot cheaper. It's a whole lot faster. And you control the outcome, not a judge, not your attorney. You are in full control. Right. And they're like, great. And sometimes they'll even send me like, bullet point going, we've agreed on all of this. We just don't know how to memorialize it for the court. And we do have a couple little things that we just can't see eye to eye on, and we need some help. Great.
And and that's often the case. I mean, I've done many mediating role myself where I've kind of ghost written the agreement because most people can figure it out. It's the crazy ones, the high conflict.
It's that 30%.
Which is where the judges, in my mind, are actually doing a grave disservice, because if a judge recognizes that there's a personality disordered person in the mix, sending them back to mediation is just abusive for the one who's not the personality disordered person.
Right.
You're
Right.
forcing them back into an abusive situation. And that's where
Yeah.
I think the judges really need to step up and just be like, okay, borderline narcissist, no. Someone has to just take the bull by the horns, make the rulings, and just make it happen. But they
Yeah.
don't. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because I think in many ways that's where the system starts abusing people through their trying to be nice to everyone, and it's not
Right.
actually helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you can actually create problems as you're trying to fix them, and then it just leaves a
Absolutely.
bad taste. And then it leaves a bad taste in the mouth of the parties, because then they're like, my attorney was awful, the mediator was awful, the judge was awful, the system is broken. And the other problem, as you well know, doing this for as long as you have, is these people still have to co-parent. And if they've got a bad taste, that's going to affect their ability to co-parent. And most likely they're probably going to take it out on the kids at some point.
Well, guaranteed, but it also does this. It tends to empower the abuser,
True.
which continues the abuse on the victim or the target, and the children just get caught in the crossfire.
Yep.
So the judge has actually now done 3 really negative things by avoiding their job.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I've had maybe 3 and almost 3,500 mediations where that happened. You know, I really like, as a mediator, I really like the temporary relief hearings, because, you know, that's where you get a real, you know, for the parties in a, you know, in most jurisdictions here, it's a 30-minute hearing. Each side gets 15 minutes. And so you better come in. And this is where I really liked what you talked about with helping dads and fathers be able to put everything in writing and be able to make a presentation using like ChatGPT or whatnot, because yeah, you've got to do a very succinct bullet point, boom, 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 in 15 minutes for the judge, because you're going to get a good snapshot of what the judge is going to do in a final and a temporary relief, and that launches settlement most of the time.
Absolutely.
And so what you're doing is really amazing.
They're not in where we're at, is they don't have time limits. I know more jurisdictions are doing that. Arizona keeps things like clicking. They're an amazing.
Really?
Yeah, their
Really?
judiciary is amazing the way they got things structured. But for us, we go on an ex parte basis. The initial hearing, you're not even in front of a judge. It's all on your paperwork. Judge reads your
wow.
paperwork, the other side's paperwork, if they file it.
Okay.
They're not even talking to anybody, which is why your paperwork is so important. Because again, we're back to your first impression with the judge is your paperwork.
It's your paperwork.
In the child custody action plan, I say, like, here's what it needs to look like. Here's what needs to be in there. You've got to have this stuff structured so that a judge can look at it and be like, I want to find for that person.
Oh, okay. So earlier when you were describing that, I didn't realize that the first, I mean, I know you were saying like first impression, but I didn't realize even first appearance is paper, not person.
Everything, 100%.
Wow. That's sort of like, you know, I'm so glad I've been like, I'll be 51 this year. I have been self-employed since I was 19. And my wife, though, is not self-employed. She works for a company. And a couple of years ago, after 2020, the company she was working for, she got laid off. And she'd worked for that company for like 10 years. And so when she, and this just blew my mind, but when she was filling out applications, like everything's just online. And I'm like, well, why don't you just call and talk to him? She's like, well, that's not how you do interviews. I'm like, what do you mean that's not how you do interviews? She's like, well, and she's like, no, it's like you have to write it. So she ended up getting a service. And this is what you're telling me, like you have created. She had to get a service to help her redo her resume. I mean, she's a paralegal. She knows how to write. She knows how to structure. She knows how to make an argument. But in a legal world, not in like the real world and an application type thing, right? Like in the legal world, but not the real world, to where a potential job person, like certain words would stick out, or like the algorithms would review these things and see that.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, that just blew my mind. But now, as you're describing what you're doing with dad's law school, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. And that's how the courts are doing it, where that's why that paperwork, the way it's written and what is there is so important, because they're not even getting that FaceTime like an interview.
Right.
It's the paperwork.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's why so
Wow.
many dads go into court and they're like, I judge didn't even look at my evidence. Well, of course not. Your paperwork was horrible.
So at
You
what point,
asked for something that was unreasonable. Like it's all you've got to have things lined up and know what it is you're trying to accomplish.
so at what point, like, is first appearance, like, okay, you're in, like, you get that FaceTime with the judge. Where's that in the process? I mean, if the first is the paper, where would you end up in front of the judge at the end?
No, for us, if you're going in on an ex parte basis, you're in front of that judge 2 days, but you've got to be able to get past that first hurdle,
Which is the paperwork.
which is the paperwork. And then you could be in front of the judge the next day. If they want
Okay.
if there's an emergency and they're like,
Okay.
get in here, you've got to be
Okay.
ready. Oftentimes, though, you're filing what we call a request for orders, where you're asking the judge, I need orders for child custody, visitation, holiday schedule, parenting
Yeah.
plan. That's usually about a 6 to 8 week process. But again, the judges, when they're coming out 6, 8 weeks out, they're going to have read all of your paperwork before you actually walk in that courtroom.
Yeah. And then,
So
and
you're
look, judges,
convincing that judge based on what you're asking for and how you're supporting it and what you're telling the judge way before you're ever walking into that courtroom.
yeah, got it, got it. And the judge should come in and be like, okay, I'm neutral, but that, look, it's
Yeah.
humanity. And if they've read something and it's not backed up properly and it's just ranting and raving, poorly written, they're already going to have a formulation in their mind. Now they just get to put a face to that poorly written document. And that's
100%.
where you're coming in going, guys, you have to pay attention and do this properly.
Well, one of the big things that I've seen oftentimes is there's not enough information about the relationship between dad and the child,
Right.
but also there's frequently she did this, she did this, she did this, she's lying, she's lying, she's lying, she's lying, she's lying. Dude, your focus is entirely the wrong place.
Yeah. Not, it's supposed to be on the
Focus
kids,
needs
not
to be
her.
on the kid, your relationship with the kid. Yes, there's a place to point out that mom's a lying manipulator, manufacturer of reality. But don't let that be the first thing or the only thing the judge remembers.
Yeah. I did that. It's interesting you said that, because I actually did that a number of years past my divorce, when my ex and I were still fighting. And I remember I went in, and our pastor's wife, she actually, I sat down with her, and and she's like, Matthew, what's going on? Like, what's really going on? I'm like, oh my gosh, and my ex 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 and my ex. And I just went on and on and on, right, David? And
Yep.
so she looked at me, she goes, you are paying way too much attention to your ex, and you're not paying attention to your kids. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to expose her so my kids can see what kind of person she is. And she goes, no, you're going about this all wrong. Instead of focusing on her to expose, if you actually built your children up, they will rise above, and they will look back and down and see and be like, wow, that's not normal behavior. Why is mom acting like that? Without me ever having to come in and tell them. Because if I come in and tell them your mother's a liar, they will defend her because that's their
Right.
mother. But if I'm teaching them how to tell the truth and how to be honest and how to be, moral and how to do these things, and then they then compare that knowledge to her and go, huh, why is mom lying? That's a whole different story. And that's exactly what you're saying. And it took me years to learn that lesson. It's a very important lesson, especially for the dads, because like you said, a lot of times the mom will come in and bash, 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 bash. And instead of just returning it, looks like two children tit for tat, you're going, no, load up with evidence against the accusations.
Right. And if you want to vent that stuff, that's what we guys do in our WhatsApp group.
WhatsApp group, yeah.
In our WhatsApp group or in the meetings, when we have our weekly meetups, guys will come in and they'll be like, I can't believe she's pulling this crap. And it's like, okay, you got to like talk about that stuff, and then let's get you refocused on the important things.
Yeah.
So we give them a place where they can vent those feelings. And sometimes guys have really big stuff and we give them, more than 2 minutes. But in general, the goal is let's hear it, get that feeling out because someplace. Then let's get you refocused on the important thing. And what's really nice about our WhatsApp group and our meetups is when the dads are hearing it from other dads, they're not hearing it from me.
Right.
It gets even easier. They hear the message, they hear the support, and they get like, okay, it's not just me. I'm not the only one going through this. Got it.
Yeah.
Now what do I do? Now let's focus on, okay, having the best visit with the kid, making sure we set ourselves up so we can argue why we should have 50-50 custody. Because oftentimes they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're supposed to say to argue that they're just as capable.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, even going back to the building up their confidence is, hearing that from other dads helps them find out, wait, I'm not the only one, because it can feel isolating. Like nobody, I mean, I hear this all the time as a mediator. Oh, Matthew, you would never believe this. I mean, like, I'm sure you've never seen this. I'm like, I have seen that every day, all day for years.
Yeah.
Like, you are not the only one. But you know what? There's safety in numbers. And to find out that you're not the only one, that others are struggling, it gives a humanity to what otherwise could seem like a cold process, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so having those other guys there, let me ask you this. So let's say, for example, I joined, right? And let's say, for example, okay, then fine, I have now finished my case. Wow, David, you and everything that you have provided is so amazing. Do your guys then leave? Do they stay? Do they then help other? Like, what do you see with like retention and the growth? Is that happening? Or like people like coming in, taking the course, winning, and then they're done and they disappear?
There's both.
Okay.
We've got guys who come in, they sign up, they do a month, they bang through all the videos, they maybe do 1 or 2 meetups, and they're like, you know what, I'm good. I'm like, cool,
Okay.
awesome, you got what you needed.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got other guys who are, years in because, they've done the videos. Yeah, they've learned it, but they like the community. They like to having the sense of opportunity to offer someone else help and hope. Because giving back is one of the things men do really well. Men like being mentors. And so if they can take their experience and then turn it to good with other men, it's really rewarding for them. So some guys do that. Some guys are in for 6 months and they're gone. It's whatever they need. My job is not to like have somebody be in our group forever. My job is to give you the tools you need to have the relationship with your kids so that they benefit in the long run. Whether that's, you're in for 2 weeks and you bang through all the videos and you ask me 3 questions and you're like, cool, got it, ready to go. Great. Whatever you need, we're here for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So, question for you. I've got 5 questions for a lightning round for you. Okay.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay. They're not complicated. All right. Number 1. What's your dream job?
Pretty much what I'm doing. I'm helping men and helping them grow. So for me, being able to mentor men and as they're going through not only this, but then rebuilding their life, new career, how do I get structured? Doing what I'm doing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Favorite type of music?
Probably some sort of non-lyric background music. I'm like Helen Keller when it comes to music. I can't remember the music.
So just something in the background.
For me, it's background music. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite food?
Fettuccine Alfredo with chicken.
That's one of my favorites. I love that. All right. Speaking of food, if you could have a meal with one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Ooh, Thomas Edison comes to mind just because he was such an
Okay.
amazing inventor and he had such a creative head. I imagine conversation with him would be fantastic.
It'd be enlightening.
Oh, oh, oh,
Oh, bad,
oh, that's
bad
painfully.
joke.
That's a
Bad
dad
joke.
joke, dude.
I know. I know. Okay. All right. Last one. If you could live anywhere in the world with your family, with your dogs, where would you live and why?
Ooh, good question. I'm kind of leaning towards the Amalfi Coast because I
Okay.
love the ocean, I love seafood, and I love Italian food, and I love Italian men. So I'm gonna say the Amalfi Coast.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So, um, where can the listeners find your stuff? I know that you had talked about your book. What's the title of the book again?
So it's Dad's Child Custody Action Plan,
Okay.
Insider
And
Secrets to Family Court Success. You can go to my website, dadslawschool.com. There'll be a big pop-up. You just click the button and get it right there. You can get
okay.
all of my courses and programs at dadslawschool.com, where we offer both coaching, one-on-one consulting, and mentoring. Dadslawschool.com is the place to find me.
Okay. And real quick question about that. I just popped up. I'm like, I know we're winding down. I'm like, wait a second, I got another question. So the resources that you have created are not just California law based. You can take that and apply it to any state in any legal situation because, like, whether you're going through California law, Florida law, New York law, Tennessee law, you need to be able to write, present, talk.
And you,
I
and,
mean,
and you can add in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK, Canada, Brazil,
all of it.
because what we're doing is we're doing strategy. We're teaching dads
That's
how to
awesome.
present yourself to a judge to be the most effective. That's the important part. The individual law, whatever, whether it's
Yeah,
Family Code 3644 for me or Florida Code Statute 17-921 X3Y for
right.
you, doesn't really matter. That's an easy thing to figure out. The strategy of
It's a
what do I
strategy.
tell the judge? How do I convince the judge? How do I demonstrate that I'm an awesome dad? That's what we're showing.
And that's the same regardless of the law you're dealing with.
100%. 100%. And we've got
100%.
dads in our Dad's Law School VIP program from literally Australia, South Africa, the UK, all across the country. We've got a Canadian dad. I mean, we're bringing dads together because it's an international problem.
Yeah,
And I'm offering a solution to these dads on how to demonstrate you're an awesome dad to the court and how to rebuild your self-esteem and get back to being the happy, productive dad that you are.
that's awesome. Well, David, I really, really appreciate you coming on, and it's just a wealth of information. I appreciate what you're doing too. I mean, definitely
Thank you,
needed.
Matt.
So, I hope you have a great day, and I'll be talking to you soon, I'm sure.
Take care, Matthew. Cheers.
All right, thank you. All right, bye bye.
For more information about my services or to schedule your mediation with me, either in person or using my iChat Mediation virtual platform built by Cisco Communications, visit me online at imediateinc.com. Call me at 561-262-9121, toll free at 877-822-1479, or email me at mbrickman@ichatmediation.com.